Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. On today's episode we're doing some photo art using Topaz Studio 2, starting out in Photoshop and then going into Topaz Studio 2 and doing some other work in Photoshop as well. I think you're going to learn a lot of nice tips and tricks in this video tutorial. Again, it's a photo painting. I'm calling it Winter in Paris. It's actually, I don't think it's in Paris. It could be New York City. It could be anywhere, but that's what I decided to call it. So let me show you how I did this one, and hopefully you'll learn a lot along the way. So without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's have some fun. So we're starting out in Photoshop, and I'm going to duplicate the background layer. So that is Command or Control J. And let's come up here to Filter and come down to Topaz Studio 2. And the first thing we're going to do is add a glow filter. All right, so we're going to come up here to Add Filter and down to Glow. And let's just see what we want to do. I think I want to use dark here. And let's take up the primary glow strength. You know, maybe somewhere right around in there to start off with. Primary effect sharpness, let's pull that up a little bit, sharpen up that a little. And this is a cool slider, primary electrify. So that's giving me that look. And already I'm really liking what that looks like. I'm liking the trees and things in here. And let's see, do I want to do anything else here? I think that's looking pretty good. Do I want to pull the strength up anymore? And how about the sharpness? Maybe the sharpness. Already it's giving me that nice impressionistic look. Reminds me of maybe a snow scene in Paris or something like that. So I'm liking that. So let's leave that at that point for now. And let's come up here to Add Filter. And let's come down to Impression. Now the first thing I like to do in Impression is I usually come down to Texture and let's see. Got to keep coming down here and click this to Original. And do I like that? You know what? No, I think I'm going to leave that like that. There's a little bit of white flecks in there are kind of cool. So I think I'm going to leave that for now. Might decide to get rid of that later, but let's leave that on there for now. Now, we can play with our brush stroke size. So let's go to High. Let's check this out and see what we get. Medium or Low. I always like to run through all these just to see what kind of effect I'm getting. Low's just a little not defined enough. Again, there's medium and high, so it's a cross between medium and high. And I think I'm going to go with high here. And let's see. Now let's play around with our brush size here. I'm going to keep it on the low side. Let's work with the paint volume. Maybe add a little bit of paint volume here. How about the paint opacity? Don't want to go too crazy here. Maybe just a little bit of that. Let's go through the brushes here and try to find a brush that we really like. Not bad. Keep going through. I'm thinking maybe that one. Now let's see what happens if we pull this opacity back. Yeah, let a little bit of that original glow coming through there. Maybe somewhere, somewhere right around in there. Now, I'm just looking at my notes here. I think I want to go with some precision contrast next. So let's go to precision contrast. Let's pull up the low first. And see how that's really bringing those trees out. Yeah, and that's giving me that look I want right there. Something like that. Now we may go back and play around with the impression filter some more. Let's try medium and just play with these things and just see if you get something you like. Because I want some contrast in here. I think that would be nice. And how about high? Do we want high? Maybe I'll just pull back on the high just a little bit. Maybe right around there is looking pretty good. And let's look at the micro. Do we want any micro contrast? Gosh, I think so. I think a little bit of micro contrast. Let's click on the canvas here and just see the before and after. So Right there. I think that's looking pretty nice. Now we're going to add some more snow to this later. So let's come back to the impression filter and let's see if we want to pull the impression up anymore. Maybe just, I don't know, 0.75. I think that looks pretty good. Let's do the before and after. And that looks pretty good. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to do was come to add filter and just try AI clear just to see if we can sharpen this up a little bit, because we took a lot of the detail out. And I think, let's click the eyeball here. So here's the before, here's the after. Sharpens it up a bit. Let me see if we want to pull the recovered details up anymore. Maybe just a little bit. Don't want to go too crazy here. Let's click the eyeball again. I mean, it just adds a little bit of sharpness, not much. Let's go back and revisit glow here and see if we like everything. Let's take the primary electrify. Now this will add a little bit more oomph to the trees. Ooh, that's too much oomph. Let's take some of that back. Give it a second or two to render out here. That's a little too strong, so let me pull it back a little bit more. It was probably good where I had it. Yeah, and I think right around there, that looks pretty nice for me. And so I'm going to go ahead and click accept. And that'll bring us right back into Photoshop. So once we're here in Photoshop, let's just take a look at our before and after. So here is the before. And here is the after. So I like it. It kind of gives me that nice impressionistic feel. I like the way these figures look out here. You know, not a whole lots of detail here, but really looks really kind of cool. So I'm happy with that. The next thing we want to do is add some snow to this image. After studying this a little bit, I'm seeing a little bit of a red cast up in here. So I'm going to take care of that real easily here in Photoshop. I'm going to come to my adjustment layers here and let's just get a hue saturation. And we can come up here and click in some of this red area, maybe up in here. And you can see it does pick reds. And this is how it, this is a selection right in here. And this is a graduation point from here to here and from here to here. And you can widen these out if you need to. But let's take the saturation and start to pull that back. And see, we'll just start to, we could take that all out. I'm not going to maybe take it all out. I'm just going to take a little bit of it out there just to ease up on that a little bit. Maybe right there. That looks pretty good. So here's the before and here's the after. So I think that helps out there. I might want to do just a little bit of coloring to the image. Maybe make this umbrella a little more blue. Maybe make this bag a little bit more red. So let's play with that and see what happens. Let's start off with the bag here. I just want to make it a little bit more red here. So let's just add a blank layer. And I've already picked a red color here and I have a really low opacity. So let me zoom into this bag right in here. And I don't want this to be very strong. I just want a little hint of color in here. Just a very little bit. Make my brush a little smaller. Maybe just like so. Right in there. Let's back that off a little bit. Now, let's just take the opacity and just pull it off and just pull it up slowly. Maybe something, you know, just show a little hint of color in there, not much. Now let's get another blank layer, and let's come to this paint swatch right here, double click it, and let's get like a blue color, something we think may work here. Let's try that. And now let's zoom in again. And this time I think I'm going to use a blend mode of overlay on here. So I won't be just painting raw paint over this. And now I'm at 20%. Let's go up to like 30% here. And just paint over this umbrella here. Just to add a little bit of color, just for some interest. Don't have to be real accurate here. It is a painting. Now every time you lift your brush, you're going to throw another 30%. Maybe just a little bit more in here. Again, I think that looks okay. Now, I think that's a little too strong, so let's go ahead. Now, it's the overlay blend mode. We could try some different blend modes. But let's just pull that back a little bit. Don't want to go too nuclear here, because I want to keep this image kind of in a kind of harmony balance here. So it's kind of everything's muted down, so let's try the multiply blend mode. Let's try multiply and pull up on the opacity. I think I might like multiply. Let me go back one more time. There's overlay, soft light. Overlay, soft light. Maybe soft light. Let's pull up the opacity there. Okay. I'm thinking somewhere right around in there looks pretty good. If we feel this paint's a little bit too much here, or the saturation's a little bit too much, I'm going to teach you a little trick here. If you come down to adjustment layers, and let's get a hue saturation layer here. Now, I only want to work on the color on this layer, which is this umbrella right here, okay? So if I hold down the Option or Alt key and hover between here, we'll create what we call a clipping mask, and this hue saturation will only affect this umbrella, which is on this layer right here, okay? So let's just take the saturation and see if we can pull it back a little bit. And I thought it looked just a little too saturated. Now I'm using a blend mode, so by pulling the opacity back more, it wasn't doing the thing I wanted it to do. But I think maybe right there, because again, I don't want to have too much heavy saturation here. All right, the next step is adding some snow, and we're going to do that using a brush. Okay, the way we're going to add snow is we're going to add a new blank layer, because we're going to want to paint on the blank layer. And make sure you have your brush tool. You could type B to get your brush tool. Now I've already picked my brush. It's a snow brush, and the size, as you can see here, is relatively big. And let me go ahead and make sure the paint is on white here. So right now it's on blue. So if I would click right here, you would see blue snow, and we don't want that. So I'll just do a Control or Command Z to get rid of that. And if you type D, you'll get your default palette back, which is white and black swatches. Just type your X key and you'll get your white paint up on the top. And let's see here. I want to make sure my opacity is... Let's take it the whole way up, because we can always pull this opacity back on the layer. So let's just give it a little click and see what happens. And there's our snow, like magical snow. Alrighty, now let's do this. Let's take the opacity and start to pull it off. In fact, let's take it the whole way off. And let's just slowly build it up till we find a nice little spot where it looks really kind of cool and snowy. And I think somewhere right around there. That's really the vision I had for this image here. Now, if there's snow in different parts of the image that you don't like, you can put a layer mask here. So just come and click on this layer mask icon. Make sure you're painting with black paint. So I'm going to type the X key. I'm going to switch my brush out to my standard soft round brush. And if there are some places where we don't like the snow, we can get rid of them. So let's make sure my brush is not that big. I just want to have a nice soft edge small brush here. And I might paint with a, let's see, let me paint with a low flow. I'll type the Shift and the 1 key. That'll make the flow go to 10%. I'll leave the opacity on about 50%, so I'm going to type the 5 key to get the opacity to 50%. And maybe this flake right here. I might want to pull that flake back a little bit there. Maybe this one here. Don't like it so much. That was there. And let's just maybe ease off on there a little bit. And I think right around there looks really good. So you can use a layer mask just to get rid of some of the snow that in places that you don't like it. So I'm basically happy, but I'm just looking at it, and always go back and study your images. I just feel this blue umbrella is a little bit too strong for the image. So all I have to do is come back to this hue saturation layer right here and click on it, and let's just take that saturation back a little bit more. I just want this thing to be in balance. And I think something like that looks much better. All right, so we came from this image right here, and we turned it into this. And I like it. It's like an impressionistic painting. Think of winter in the streets of Paris. Kind of fun. Could be New York City, but I like it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Oh, wait, there's more. Just one more thing. What if we wanted to pop a little bit more contrast into this? Very simple to do. Just come down to the adjustment layers and get yourselves a curves adjustment layer. And let's just pull a little S-curve into this. So let's come into the highlights here. Just pull up in the highlights just a little bit and maybe come to the shadows and pull down on the shadows just a little bit, just popping a little bit more contrast. Now let's click this eyeball. Here's before and after. You know, so just a tiny bit more of contrast. And if you went overboard, you can come to the opacity, pull it off, and just build it up. But I like it. You know, that's just a very slight S-curve. So if you ever need to make contrast in your images, you can just pop yourselves a little S-curve here with 2 points. Pull up in the highlights, pull down in the shadows. It's that simple. Well, there it is. Hold the presses. Wait, there's even more. Hey, I was looking at as I was editing this video, I saw there's a little bit of residue here on the edges here and here. I think I can fix that pretty easy. So I'm just going to get a blank layer and get my clone stamp tool. And if you type the S key, you get your clone stamp tool. And let's just zoom way into this. And let's fix this up here. I just don't like that. And that'll bug me. Like I said, always examine your picture. And my opacity and my flow is at 100%. So I'm just going to paint along here. Just clean that up a little bit. Something like so. Come to the other side. Option click. I'm option clicking and that samples an area around it. Like so. I like that. And between his legs area, is that darker? Meh, it's hard to tell. I think it's okay. So I'm going to come over here, option click right here, and maybe just get rid of this little bit of whatever you want to call this, artifacting or whatever. Option click over here, fix some of that up. I'll be a much happier person. Maybe even get rid of this line right here. It's a little dark. So option click and let's just clone it away. Clone your troubles away. Right, like so. And look. And I find this a lot. Once you start really pixel peeping, you could be here all day fixing things. Comes to a place where you just got to stop and say, I'm satisfied. All right, there you go. I'm happy with that, and I think that looks much better. On second thoughts, right here, that's a little bit light right in there. So, whoops, probably a snowflake. All right, I think we're done. I think I'll call it Paris in the winter or whatever. Okay. Anyway, hey, I hope you enjoyed this video today. I love Topaz Studio 2 and all the cool things that you can do. It is your creative toolbox to really have some fun. This one was pretty simple to do, so you can see you can make images pretty quick in it. Or you can take a long time and make really complex looking images. But this one was pretty simple to make, but I think it turned out really nice. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the tutorial today, please give it a like and also share it with your friends. If you're not yet a subscriber in my channel, please consider subscribing. And if you do, click that bell notification icon. This way, every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified about it. Well, we are in the holiday season here. Tomorrow is Christmas when I'm making this video. So I want to wish each and every one of my viewers and subscribers happy holidays and peace on earth, goodwill to men. And I'll see everybody right here next time in The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. But until then, happy editing and happy holidays.